I want to talk to the gardener who is feeling guilty right now. You had plans for that empty bed in spring. Maybe the weather did not cooperate. Maybe your back was acting up, or your family needed you, or life simply kept showing up with other priorities. And now it is July, and you are looking at bare soil, wondering if you missed your chance entirely. You did not, and I want you to hear that clearly. Plants do not know what month it is. They respond to conditions, warmth, water, soil, and light. And in July, those conditions are actually ideal for a whole group of perennials that nature built specifically to handle summer heat. These are not fragile seedlings that need coddling. These are tough, proven, beautiful plants that will reward you with real color this season and come back stronger every year after that. I have been gardening for over 40 years, and one of the most valuable things those years taught me is this: an empty bed in July is not a failure. It is an opportunity you have not used yet, so let us use it together. Here are 8 heat-loving perennials you can plant right now and still get color before the season ends. If you are new here, welcome to the Gardening Grandma. Hit that subscribe button right now. Let us get those beds filled. Perennial 1, Coneflower. I want to start with coneflower because it may be the single most forgiving perennial in the American garden, and that is exactly what a July planting needs. Coneflower is native to North America, which tells you something important. This plant survived thousands of years of summer heat long before anyone was around to water it carefully. It knows how to handle July. The blooms come in purple, pink, white, and golden yellow, depending on the variety. And here is what sets coneflower apart from most summer perennials. It does not slow down in the heat. Most flowers peak and fade when temperatures climb. Coneflower leans into it. Beyond the blooms, bees visit constantly. Butterflies land on those wide, flat flower heads all afternoon. And if you leave the seed heads standing in autumn, goldfinches will come to feed right in your own yard. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. For July planting, skip seeds entirely. Go to the nursery and look for an established transplant that is already a few inches tall with a healthy root system. Get it in the ground with a good deep soak. Add 2 inches of mulch around the base to retain moisture, and keep up with watering for the first 4 to 6 weeks. After that, coneflower becomes remarkably self-sufficient. Perennial 2, Black-Eyed Susan. Black-Eyed Susan has a sense of timing that I genuinely admire. It blooms in late summer, precisely when everything else in the garden is starting to look tired and spent. Those golden yellow flowers with their rich brown centers arrive in August like they planned it, right when your garden needs them most. They are native plants and extraordinary pollinator magnets. Butterflies cannot resist them. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Because Black-Eyed Susan blooms later in the season, a July planting actually makes perfect strategic sense. You are putting it in the ground right before its big moment. The plant spends those first few weeks quietly building roots while you wait. And then just when you are wondering whether you made a mistake, it throws out those cheerful golden blooms. My rule now is simple. Plant Black-Eyed Susan in full sun with well-drained soil, and do not fuss over soil richness. They are also excellent cut flowers, with a long vase life and a color that pairs beautifully with almost anything else you are growing. Perennial 3, Yarrow. Yarrow looks like it should be delicate. Those lacy, feathery leaves and flat-topped clusters of tiny flowers give it an airy, almost fragile appearance. The reality is almost the opposite. Yarrow is one of the toughest perennials you can put in the ground, and it is practically made for hot, dry July conditions. If you have a spot that gets baked by afternoon sun and dries out between waterings, Yarrow is your answer. It handles drought better than almost anything else on this list. The blooms come in white, cream, yellow, soft pink, and deep red, so there is almost certainly a variety that works with whatever you are already growing. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Yarrow dries exceptionally well. Cut the flowers before they fully open. Hang them upside down in a cool, dry spot, and you will have beautiful dried arrangements that hold their color and shape for months. It is like getting 2 full seasons of beauty from one plant. My rule now is simple. Plant yarrow only where the water drains freely. It will not tolerate sitting in wet soil. Sandy or loamy soil is ideal. If your soil is clay heavy, work in some coarse sand or compost before planting. Perennial 4, Shasta Daisy. Shasta daisies are the definition of a classic summer flower. Those bright white petals around a bold yellow center. It is the flower most people picture when they close their eyes and think of a summer garden. They are cheerful, clean, and surprisingly tough. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. When you plant a Shasta daisy transplant in July, trim off any open or spent flowers first. This feels wrong. You want to see blooms right away. But redirecting the plant's energy toward root development in those first weeks produces a stronger, better established plant that blooms far more vigorously. A few days of patience early pays off for the rest of the season. My rule now is simple. Drainage matters enormously with Shasta daisies. They do not tolerate wet feet. Make sure wherever you plant them drains freely after rain. Raised beds work beautifully for this reason. Once established, Shasta daisies are generous and reliable bloomers that come back year after year, filling out into impressive patches of white and gold that need very little from you at all. We are halfway through. If your garden has an empty spot right now, drop a comment below and tell me which of these you are going to try first. I read every single one, and if you have not subscribed yet, please do. I put out new gardening advice every single week. Perennial 5, Bee Balm. Bee Balm earns its name and then some. The blooms are vivid, spiky flowers in red, pink, purple, and lavender that look like nothing else in the garden. They attract bees in large numbers, bring butterflies, and if you plant red varieties, hummingbirds will find you within days. The foliage carries a pleasant minty fragrance when you brush against it, one of my favorite small pleasures in the summer garden. Bee Balm blooms in mid to late summer, which means a July planting is very well timed. You have a genuine chance at color this season. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Bee Balm can develop powdery mildew, a white dusty coating on the leaves that appears in humid conditions. The fix is simple. Give plants good air circulation when you space them, and always water at the base rather than overhead. My rule now is simple. For July planting, buy established transplants from the nursery. A healthy, larger plant gives you a real shot at blooms before the season ends. Bee Balm prefers rich, moist soil, so keep up with watering and mulch well around the base to hold that moisture in the heat. Perennial 6, Salvia. If you want to attract pollinators in a serious way, few perennials do it as efficiently as Salvia. Those tall spikes of blue and purple flowers are irresistible to bees and butterflies all summer and into fall. Salvia prefers full sun and well-drained, somewhat lean soil. Too much fertilizer makes plants leggy and floppy. Lean soil tends to produce more compact, attractive growth. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. At the nursery, choose a plant with tight buds rather than fully open blooms. A plant covered in open flowers has already spent much of its initial energy. A plant with buds still has weeks of blooming ahead and will give you significantly more flowers. My rule now is simple. After the first flush of flowers fades, cut Salvia back by about a third. It looks a little bare for 10 days, and then it comes roaring back with a strong second wave of flowering. Do not be timid with the pruning shears on this one. Perennial 7, Daylilies. Daylilies have a reputation for being nearly indestructible, and that reputation is completely earned. They grow in almost every soil type, handle drought, tolerate heat, and come back year after year with remarkably little intervention. For For July planting, they are among the very best choices on this list. The blooms are large trumpet-shaped flowers in an extraordinary range of colors: pale yellow, deep burgundy, coral, lavender, often with contrasting throats or ruffled edges. Each individual flower lasts only one day, but each stem carries multiple buds that open in sequence, so the display continues for weeks. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Even if a July-planted daylily does not bloom this season, it is quietly building a root system that will power an exceptional show the following summer. Think of it as a guaranteed return on a modest investment. My rule now is simple: divide the clumps every 3 to 4 years. It keeps the plants vigorous and gives you more divisions to spread around the garden or share with a neighbor. Perennial 8, Lavender. I saved lavender for last because I want to make an argument for why it belongs in more gardens than it currently occupies. Lavender is Mediterranean by nature. It evolved in intense summer heat, thin, rocky soil, and long, dry spells. July in most of North America feels mild by comparison. This plant does not just tolerate summer heat, it thrives in it. The familiar spikes of soft purple bloom through August and carry a fragrance that is hard to describe and impossible to forget. Bees find it within days of planting. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. The single biggest killer of lavender is poor drainage. Lavender will not survive in soggy soil. If your ground tends to hold water, plant in a raised bed or a slightly elevated spot. My rule now is simple: plant lavender in full sun, water it in well, and then step back. It does not want fussing. Cut a few bundles at the end of the season, hang them in a cool, dry spot, and you will have something beautiful and fragrant for months. 8 perennials, all of them proven, all of them available right now at your local nursery. One practical note that applies to every plant on this list: whenever you can, plant in the late afternoon or early evening rather than midday. The cooler temperatures and overnight recovery time give transplants a much gentler introduction than the full force of a July noon sun. Water deeply rather than frequently. A long soak that reaches 6 to 8 inches down encourages roots to grow where the soil stays cooler and more consistently moist. And mulch every single one. 2 to 3 inches of shredded bark around each plant holds moisture, moderate soil temperature, and cuts down on how often you need to water. Just keep it an inch away from the stems. That empty bed you have been feeling guilty about: Coneflower, Black-Eyed Susan, Yarrow, Shasta Daisy, Balm, Salvia, Daylilies, Lavender. Any one of them goes in this week and starts working toward color this season and a stronger garden for years to come. It is not too late, not even close. If this helped you, subscribe and share it with one gardener who is staring at an empty bed wondering whether to bother. Tell them from me, bother. It is absolutely worth it. Until next time, happy gardening. Take care of yourselves and take care of those beautiful gardens of yours.